A Martin Halloway leaned back in his old armchair, the fraying leather creaking beneath him. In his hands was a dusty children's book he'd found tucked away in a forgotten corner of the library. The title read, The Ogre's Playground. The illustrations were crude, colourful depictions of a monstrous ogre with green skin, gnarled teeth, and eyes that burned like fire. It lived on a remote island, guarding its treasures and devouring anyone foolish enough to trespass. The book described how ships had wrecked near the island, and the survivors who dared to land never returned. Martin snorted as he flipped through the pages. "What a load of nonsense," he muttered. But as he read further, something struck him. The illustrations of the island, its jagged cliffs, the peculiar crescent-shaped cove, looked eerily familiar. He'd seen that very shape on an old maritime map years ago. He closed the book, his curiosity piqued. Could the island be real? Surely the tale was just a way to scare children. But the idea of uncovering a forgotten place, and perhaps its treasures, was too tempting to ignore. A few weeks later, Martin stood at the edge of the island, the waves crashing against his boat as he secured it on the rocky shore. The landscape matched the book's description perfectly. Cliffs jagged like teeth, dense jungle hugging the coastline, and that crescent-shaped cove. "Just a story," he muttered, stepping onto the black sand. His boots crunched against the ground as he made his way inland. The air was strangely still, but he chalked it up to his imagination running wild. The jungle was unnaturally quiet. No birds, no rustling leaves. Martin tried to push the creeping unease aside. He climbed over twisted roots and navigated the dense undergrowth until he stumbled upon something unexpected. A massive stone structure, just as the book described. It was a playground, or what was left of one. Rusted swings hung limply from chains, and a seesaw sat lopsided, its paint flaking. In the center was a massive stone slide, carved with grotesque faces. It seemed absurd, a children's playground on an uninhabited island. But as Martin approached, the unease in his stomach grew. The closer he got, the more he noticed. Scratches on the stone, deep gouges that looked like claw marks. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating, but Martin shook his head. "Just a children's story," he whispered again, his voice wavering. Then he saw it, a pile of bones scattered near the base of the slide. Human bones. Martin froze, the reality of the situation sinking in. The tale wasn't a story, it was a warning. A low growl broke the silence. It wasn't far off. Martin's heart thundered in his chest as he turned, scanning the dense jungle. The ground beneath his feet trembled. A branch snapped, a sound so sharp it made him jump. And then it emerged. The ogre was massive, far more terrifying than any illustration. Its skin wasn't green but a mottled grayish black, as if it were carved from the island's very stone. Its eyes glowed faintly, not with fire, but with a cold, hungry light. It towered over him, its jagged teeth bared in a grin that was almost human. The ogre loomed over him, one massive hand pinning him in place. Its breath was hot and foul as it leaned in close. "You wanted to know if the story was real," it rumbled, "and now you'll be part of it." Martin struggled beneath the ogre's crushing grip, his chest heaving as panic surged through him. The creature's eyes glowed faintly, reflecting Martin's terrified face. Its lips curled into a twisted grin, revealing jagged teeth stained with blood and decay. "You'll join the others," the ogre hissed, its voice like gravel grinding together. "Their screams fed the trees, their bones built my throne, and now, you will too." The ogre dragged him effortlessly toward the massive stone slide in the clearing, its claws leaving deep gouges in the ground as it moved. Martin thrashed, clawing at the earth and screaming, but the forest remained silent, as if the jungle itself conspired to keep him captive. Weeks later, a librarian found the ogre's playground lying on the desk of a man who had failed to return it. Oddly, the once pristine illustrations now seemed different. The crude drawings of the ogre had become more lifelike, its glowing eyes seeming to follow anyone who opened the book. And in the background of one particular page, a small figure could be seen, running toward the jagged cliffs. Martin's name was scribbled in the book's margins, his notes scattered with frantic handwriting. "This is real. The island exists. Don't go there." The librarian tried to dismiss it as a prank, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her every time she glanced at the book. That night, the ogre's playground vanished from the library shelves. No one knows who took it, but rumors persist of an old, dusty book appearing in other libraries, luring new readers with its strange and sinister tale.